Yo, what's up, YouTube? It's your boy Big D here. My coworker gave me a mini fridge the other day. He was going to throw it in the dumpster behind work. And he said, hey man, you want this? So I said, okay. And I took it home. And just a couple days ago, I took it apart, tried to figure out what was wrong with it. He says it wasn't cooling properly. He says it would get cold, but it wouldn't get cold enough to keep things cool. I brought it home and plugged it in. Let it sit for about an hour, and the internal temperature was somewhere around 55 or something like that. So I took the back panel off, as you can see. It's got a bunch of screws that hold this in place. It's not very hard to take it off. And once I opened up the back, I realized what I was working with. Now, I've seen this type of technology before, but I wasn't really familiar with it. It uses something called a peltier thermal module, and it's got two of them. And basically what that does is when electricity goes to it, it heats up one side and cools the other. I don't really know exactly how it works. It's magic, I guess. But you've got to have a heat sink on the outsides and a heat sink on the inside, and the heat sink on the inside is what gets cold, and that's how it circulates the cold air inside the refrigerator. So I took the top one off here because the bottom one's working. It's working just fine. But I took the top one off to take a look at it, and the thermal module, the peltier module, isn't working right. And there's really not a whole lot that you can do to fix it. So I looked on Amazon and priced a few of them, and I found one for $6 with the free Prime shipping. So I went ahead and bought that. And we're just going to change it out real quick and see what we can get. So bear with me here. Okay, so on the inside of the refrigerator, you've got these two grills, one here, one here. These house the internal heat sinks and the circulating fans. So those have to come off. I accidentally broke one of them because I wasn't quite sure how it was in there. I thought it was just held in with like plastic rivets or something, because the screws were covered up with white inserts. You couldn't really see them. So I accidentally broke it, but it shouldn't affect performance or anything like that. But if you've got one of these and you're trying to work on it, you'll know what I'm talking about when you look at it. Okay, where the fan connects to the refrigerator, it's just a small clip you can see there. You just unhook that and it should come right off. These are similar to a fan you would find in a computer case if you work on computers or anything about them. It's very similar. So if those are broken, you could probably replace those with a computer fan and it would work just fine. This one's already disconnected because I didn't want to have to do that. But that's how you take both of those off. And you can see the internal heat sinks right there. Like I said, the one on the top right there, it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't getting cold. The one on the bottom, it was getting ice cold. It was getting so cold that there was ice forming on it. So that's kind of how I figured out that it wasn't working properly, obviously. So going to skip ahead here, so hold tight. Okay, the heat sinks on the back, which are attached to the internal heat sinks, they're all attached together, but they're only held in by a Phillips head screw on each side. The whole unit should just pull right out. Okay, so this is the entire unit itself. It's got a fan connector here, which I had unplugged previously, that goes onto the control board here. There's a spot for it. You'll see it if you have this and you're working on it. You'll know what you're doing. But essentially, you have to take this fan off here. And if you have a heat gun, that will greatly help out the next step. I'll show you why here in a second. This plastic shroud here has these two clips that you may need the help of a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, to help you get them out. Okay. I don't know how well you can see, but inside there is two screws that holds the entire assembly together. And there's these two little plastic things on the adjacent side. But those two screws right there, I've already done this since I took it apart and looked at it before, but those two screws are going to be covered in some type of glue type material. It's hard to scrape it off with a screwdriver, so what I did was get a heat gun I have and just applied heat on both the screws to where the glue would melt, and then you just scrape it off with a screwdriver to gain access to the screw heads. But after you gain access to the screw head, you should just be able to unscrew the whole assembly. Okay. So that wasn't really supposed to happen like that, but it came apart, and you can kind of see what the inside of these look like. You can see there's some burnt spots right there. That might be why it's not working properly, I'm not sure. But what we're going to do real quick, take these old wires, and we're just going to cut them, once on the red, once on the black, because this is trash. And this little foam plastic piece should come right off. And the thermal compound, it's not an adhesive, but it is kind of sticky. So you kind of have to take it off easily, or else it might break into pieces. You can just throw that in the trash. Then we're going to get ready for the next step. Okay, before we go any further, let's go ahead and take this new peltier module out of the box here. I haven't even had a chance to look at it yet, so this is going to be a first time look. I'm not even 100% sure if it's going to fit. I just kind of took a gamble on it. Got some new heatsink compound. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. This was like $6, I think, and it's a big tube of it. Got it on Amazon. And this is our new peltier module. A lot of the reviewers are saying that they fixed their mini fridges with these. They listed some model names, and one person mentioned a Black & Decker, so I figured it probably is the right size. Even if it's a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger, we can still get it to work. But it looks to be the exact same size. It's even got the model name on there. which you can compare to the old one. Mine, I couldn't see the lettering on it, so there's really no way for me to tell. But it's brand spanking new. $6, can't go wrong. And it looks like it'll fit on there nicely. So the next step here is going to be cleaning off the old thermal compound, because you don't want all this old stuff on there. So what I recommend, what I've done before, is rubbing alcohol. This is 91%. I think this is the highest percent you can buy at Walmart. It's not very expensive, but it works pretty good on cleaning this stuff off. So just get some paper towels. And just pour it on there. It should just clean right up. It doesn't have to be perfect on this. I've worked on computers a lot in my life, and I've changed out processors and heat sinks and all that kind of stuff. And if you're doing something with the computer processor, yeah, you want to get it real clean, you want to get it perfect, because processors get so hot that the slightest bit of imperfection can make a difference. But for something like this, I'm not too worried about it. As long as it conducts heat well, that's all we really need to do. Okay, that should be good enough. You can kind of see where there's no more paste left on it. It's just bare metal there at this point. Of course, it's dirty, but we're not really too worried about that. It's about as clean as it's going to get for what I need it to do. Okay, so before I can continue any further, I need to figure out which side is the hot side and which side is the cold side. I tried to do some research real quick on the internet, but couldn't really find a good source, so I said I'll just do it the hard way and hook it up, see which side gets hot and which side gets cold. Alright. Pretty simple stuff here. Red goes to red, black goes to black. Not very complicated. Going to use these crimp-on butt connectors here. They're really good for stuff like this. It's quick and easy. Doesn't get much easier than that. Gonna plug it in now. Okay. That's all it takes. It's very, very quick. Very hot. Okay. Just wanted to verify real quick. That my observations were correct, that the side without the text is the hot side. Okay, now comes the fun part. Okay, we know this is for the hot side and this is for the cold side. So when we place this down, we want the text to be on the cold block. So what we're going to do here is apply some of this thermal compound. It doesn't take very much. A little dab will do you with this stuff. And just get something to spread it with. This is an old piece of cardboard. And you really want to have a thin layer. You don't want a huge layer, a huge glob of this stuff on here. It's not how it works. Basically what this stuff is a silicone based material that's got metal inside of it. Of course the metal's so small you can't see it, but that's how it conducts the temperature, whether it be hot or cold. Because when you put two pieces of metal together, the slight imperfections in the surface of the metal can create air gaps, which isn't ideal for transferring heat. So when you have something like this on here, it essentially closes the gaps and creates a perfect thermal transferring solution. Okay, this should be good enough. This goes on something like this. This goes on like this. Make sure you have your holes lined up with the holes in the heat sinks. And like we said before, the hot side was the side without the text. So the cold side is the one with the text. It needs to go face down onto this. Just like so. And this should just sandwich on here. Something like that. Okay, putting this thing back together can kind of be a pain in the ass if you couldn't tell, just by the nature of how it's designed. I don't think these things are designed to be user maintained like this, but around here, if something breaks, we fix it. So what I'm doing here is just rubbing the two blocks together with the peltier module. Just trying to get that thermal compound nice and smushed and spread in. And do that before you tighten your screws all the way. And once you have it nice and spread and all that, go ahead and tighten them down. Doesn't have to be super tight. Just enough to push the two surfaces together. Just like that. And it's tight enough now that there's really not a whole lot of movement. That's kind of what we're looking for. And I'd say that is good to go. Now we just have to put everything back together. I can feel, it's been on for about a minute now, I can feel that the heat sink on the outside is hot. Well, warm to the touch rather. And the internal heat sink is cold. So everything's working the way it needs to be. So let's put it back together, slap it back in this thing. Okay. That shouldn't have been that hard, but doesn't matter. We got it on there. And I'll take your 4 screws and screw the fan back on. If you wanted to go the extra step, which I'm not going to because I'm not that concerned about it, but this heat sink slides in to the back of the refrigerator right here. It had some foam insulation, okay? You could get some caulking and seal that up if you wanted to, but I'm not going to do that because I don't think it'll make that much of a difference. It's still got somewhat of a foam ring right here. That should do an adequate job with keeping the heat out and the cold in. It just slides up in there like so. Get your other 2 screws. Okay, so now we're just going to put these fans and fan shrouds back on the inside of the refrigerator. Okay, now we just have to put the cover on the back. And to speed things up, busted out the impact driver. because with an impact driver, there's a chance you could strip out whatever it is you're working with. Okay, everything's put back together. Now we're just going to plug it in. Both the fans are turning on the back. And both the fans are turning on the inside. Looks like the internal temperature right now is about 53 degrees. I'm going to let this run for maybe about an hour, and let's see what happens. The refrigerator's been on now for about an hour. I think it has power cycled off at this point. The fans in the back aren't turning as fast as they were, so I think maybe it's kind of reached the temperature where it's just kind of stabling out. So let's see what the results are. $35, $37, below 40. I placed a piece of aluminum in there a couple minutes ago, actually. I just placed this in there, but it's not cold enough yet. I was kind of hoping I could use this kind of as a better material to read the temperature on, but that's not the case right now. The door's at 40 degrees. Looks like everything inside the fridge is about 38, 39. Of course, most of the cold air has came out at this point, but you can definitely feel the cold air inside coming out. So that to me means that everything's working the way it needs to be. Like I said, when I measured the temperature the other day, it was about 55 degrees. So about a 15 to 20 degree difference in temperature. So it's doing its job. It's doing what it needs to do. So it'll do what I need to do, though. It'll cool liquids, which is all I needed to do. I'll probably keep it out here in my garage and just put drinks in it, something to drink, you know. So it'll work for what I need it to do. And total cost of repair, $12. $6 for the peltier module, $6 for the thermal compound. So $12 mini fridge repair. You can't beat that. For something that somebody was just going to throw away, this is definitely a good option. If you can find somebody that's going to throw one away, yeah, by all means, snatch it up, because you can fix these things cheap, and they're fairly easy to fix too. You don't have to have any knowledge about refrigeration or anything like that, because it's basic, you know, electronic components in there. There's nothing to do with any Freon or refrigerant or anything like that. Anybody can do it. I just showed you how to do it. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on YouTube. If you like this video, if you learned something, go ahead and give me a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe, because I need people to watch these videos, because I make them and not a whole lot of people are watching them. So hopefully I can gain a bigger audience in the future. So just leave your feedback in the comment section below. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you didn't like. And we'll go from there. So You guys have a good one.